Watch what happens when you type one line into a terminal. Explain this repository structure. Don't change anything yet. Codex reads every file, maps out how the project fits together, and answers in plain language before it's touched a single line of your code. That's the entire opening move, and it's the reason the rest of this actually works. Here's why that first step matters more than people think. Codex isn't guessing based on a file name or a folder label. It's reading your actual code, the way a new engineer would on their first day, except it does it in seconds instead of a week. Once it understands the shape of your project, every request after that gets sharper because it's not starting from zero anymore. Before we install anything, 3 quick things. Like this video, comment whether you're on Windows or Mac so I know which setup questions to answer next, and subscribe, because this tool ships an update roughly every couple of weeks, and a command that works today can quietly change its flags next month. Let's get you running. On Mac, you've got 2 clean paths, and either one works fine. If you already use Homebrew, one line installs it. Brew, install, then Cask, then Codex. If you'd rather use npm, run npm install global @OpenAI/Codex. Notice that exact name, @OpenAI/Codex. That matters more than it sounds like it should, and I'll come back to exactly why in a minute, because it's the single most common reason people think their install is broken when it isn't. On Windows, you install natively, no virtual machine required. Open PowerShell and run the official installer, a one-line command that pipes straight from OpenAI's own install script. If your team already manages tools through npm, the same @OpenAI/Codex package works on Windows too, as long as you've got a current version of Node installed first. Now, here's that trap I mentioned. If you type npm install-g codex without the @OpenAI in front of it, npm will happily install something. It just won't be this tool. That unscoped package name belongs to a completely unrelated project that's been sitting on npm for over a decade. It installs silently, gives you no error, and then does absolutely nothing useful when you try to run it. If your install worked, but the command does nothing recognizable, that's almost always the reason. Always check for the @OpenAI scope before you hit enter. Once it's installed, open a terminal, move into the folder of the project you want to work on, and type the command by itself to launch it. First time through, it'll ask you to sign in. You've got 2 choices here, and they bill completely differently, so pick deliberately rather than by habit. Signing in with your ChatGPT account uses whatever plan you're already paying for, Plus, Pro, Business, whichever tier you're on, and usage counts against that subscription. Signing in with an API key instead bills separately per token through your OpenAI platform account. If you're an individual developer already paying for ChatGPT, the account login is simpler. If you're wiring this into an automated pipeline, or you want itemized metered billing for a team, the API key is the better fit. Neither is wrong, they're just built for different situations. Once you're signed in, you'll land in an interactive session showing your current model and your working directory. This is your control center. A handful of slash commands are worth knowing immediately. Slash status shows your model, your account, and your current settings at a glance. Slash model lets you switch which model is doing the work and how much reasoning effort it spends per response, which matters because more reasoning effort means slower, more careful answers, and less means faster, lighter ones for simple tasks. Slash permissions controls exactly what Codex is allowed to do without asking you first, and that one deserves its own moment because it's where people get into trouble.
Here's the warning, and I want you to actually sit with this one because it's buried in OpenAI's own documentation in a single sentence that's easy to skim past. On Windows specifically, there's a mode often called full access, and it is explicitly not limited to your project folder. That means an agent running in that mode isn't sandboxed to the repository you opened it in. It can reach outside that folder and take destructive action somewhere else on your machine, and the official guidance is blunt about it. Keep the sandbox boundaries in place unless you fully understand what you're switching off. So here's the actual fix, not just the warning. Start every new project in the default safer sandbox mode, the one that keeps Codex reading and proposing changes inside your project folder, asking before it runs anything outside clearly safe boundaries. On native Windows, that default sandbox is genuinely worth keeping, especially the elevated version, if you can approve the administrator prompt once during setup, because it adds file system boundaries and firewall rules around what the agent can touch. Only reach for a wider access mode later, deliberately for a specific task, and switch it back down when that task is done. Treat broad access like a tool you pick up and put back, not a setting you leave on. If your actual codebase already lives in a Linux environment, WSL2 is worth considering instead of native Windows. Under WSL2, Codex uses a Linux-based sandbox instead of the Windows one, and that sandbox has had more real-world testing since it's closer to the environment these models were trained and evaluated against. Keep your project inside the Linux file system when you do this, not on the Windows C drive mounted through WSL, because crossing that boundary constantly will slow every file operation down noticeably. On Mac, the sandbox story is simpler. There's no native versus WSL split to think about, but the same principle applies. Start cautious, confirm the agent behaves the way you expect on a read-only task, then loosen permissions only as far as the task actually requires. Let's run a real session so this stops being abstract. Open your project, launch Codex, and start with exactly the kind of prompt I opened this video with. Ask it to explain the repository without changing anything. Read what it gives you back. If that summary matches your understanding of the project, you know it's actually parsed your code correctly, not just guessed from folder names. Next, ask for something concrete but low risk. List the 3 commands I'd run to verify this project locally. Don't run them yet, just tell me. This checks whether Codex understands your build and test setup before you ever hand it write access. Now for the actual work. Ask it to fix something specific, a failing test, a bug you already know about, phrased with the same precision you'd use talking to a new teammate. The login form on the settings page doesn't validate email addresses correctly. Find the validation logic and fix it. Codex will read the relevant files, propose a change, and depending on your permission setting, either wait for your approval or apply it and show you the diff afterward. Review that diff like you would any teammate's pull request. It's usually right. It is not always right, and the review step is not optional just because the agent sounds confident. Now, the actual golden nugget, the one habit that changes everything else about how this tool feels to use. There's a command /init that generates a file called AGENTS.md sitting right at the root of your project. This file is where you write down the things you'd otherwise repeat in every single session, your coding conventions, which package manager you use, how you like commits formatted, which folders are off limits, what done actually means for a task in this code base. Once that file exists, Codex reads it automatically at the start of every future session in this project without you saying a word about it in every future session. Most people skip this because it feels like an extra step before the real work starts. It isn't extra. It's the difference between explaining yourself every single time and explaining yourself exactly once. I test new AI deals every week. If a new free method comes out, you'll see it here first. A few things worth knowing before you rely on this for anything serious. Codex sends your prompts and the context it needs up to OpenAI's servers to generate responses, but it isn't silently uploading your entire repository in the background, only what the conversation actually requires. If you're working somewhere with strict data policies, read your organization's stance on that before pointing this at anything sensitive. That's a decision above what any tutorial should make for you. Also worth knowing, if you ever want to hand off something long-running, a big refactor, a multi-hour test suite fix, there's a cloud version of this same agent that can pick up a task and keep working after you close your laptop, then hand the finished branch back to you later. That's a separate workflow from everything we just covered, worth exploring once the local setup feels natural, not before. And if a session ever goes sideways, an edit you didn't expect, a command that ran when you thought it would ask first, don't just close the terminal and start over. Run /status first. Check which permission mode was actually active when it happened, because 9 times out of 10 that explains exactly what went wrong, and you fix the setting instead of just hoping it doesn't happen again. If you set this up today, tell me in the comments which platform you're on and what the very first task you handed it was. I read through those, and the ones that keep showing up, a specific error, a specific workflow question, become the next tutorial, usually within a couple of weeks, because that's about how often this tool changes enough to be worth a fresh video. That's really why staying subscribed here matters more than it would for most software. This isn't a settled tool with a stable manual. It's shipping updates fast enough that the safest setup today has a real shelf life, and when it changes, I'll have the fix up before most people even notice something moved.